everyone. Welcome to our series, which marks the 143rd anniversary of the first Girmitias arriving in Fiji. In this series, we will hear from renowned Girmit historians and creative artists. In this episode, we will be hearing from Dr. Celine Ramsamy from Réunion Island. Dr. Ramsamy is a lecturer at the University of La Réunion, teacher in modern French literature. Celine Ramsamy holds a PhD in contemporary history. She's the author of a thesis entitled Catholicism and Popular Hinduism on Réunion Island, Context, Exchanges, mid-19th to early 20th century. Her fields of research are religious history, indenture, and the heritage of the Indian Ocean. Author of Indian Migrations, Art, History, edition Surya 2016, she recently collaborated with Dr. Bridge V. Lal in publishing a chapter in Girmitias, The Making of Their Memory Keepers from the Indian Indentured Diaspora. This was published with Primus Books, New Delhi in 2021. Let us now hear from Dr. Ramsamy.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Celine Ramsamy Jancone, and I wanted to thank you for inviting me on your show to speak about Réunion Island, which is a little known colony where indentured labor were brought in the 18th and 19th century. I take advantage to this moment to pay tribute to late Professor Bridge Lal. May his work inspire the new generation and blossom more and more. First of all, I would like to emphasize that Réunion was initially an island without any inhabitants. From the moment that the French arrived in the middle of the 15th century, they began their colonization by cultivating and planting. Within the context of this project, they brought with them a very diverse population from India and Asia. And the indentured workers from India were transporting to the island, and during the 18th century, their wages were paid directly to India. They arrived most from the 5 French trading posts, Chandernagore, Karikal, Pondicherry, Yanao, Mahé. While the planters decided to plant sugarcane in the early 19th century, the demand for workers increased very much, and the indentured workers were brought also from other territories of India as Bengal. But this group was a minority, and the most important group were South Indians, who brought with them many rituals typical from South India. They came mostly from lower castes, as they used to serve the colonizer in the French India territories, but they were also from other castes as well as cultivators or traders. As we know, it has not been easy to estimate their religious belonging accurately. However, according to Professor Prosper Eve from the University of La Réunion, the number of Indians increased significantly from 1849 onwards. From 1848 to 1860, the island was home around 47,000 Indians, and from 1861 to 1882, another 32,000 among a population of around 200,000 inhabitants. Amongst these immigrants, around 90 were Hindu, 90% were Hindu, 8% Muslim, and 10% Catholic. Most Catholic Indians came from Pondicherry or other dioceses of India. My research has shown that in the 19th century, and it is very important to understand this, the boundaries between religious faiths were very porous and close, The Indian of the South, even they were classified as Hindu, for example, observed a great respect for Catholicism for two reasons. Those who came from the lower castes have many contacts with the missionaries. This is all the more important as many came from French trading posts. On the other hand, these lower castes members accepted to join the church because they were harassed by the upper class and by the zamindar, and they could not have the same opportunity to progress in Indian society. Indian popular cults have occupied a large place in the social cultural landscape of Réunion, and their ceremonies were very attractive for the rest of the population. Since 1828, the indentured Indian workers were released for the great festival of Pongal at the beginning of January. The celebration took its roots in Tamil Nadu, and it was in homage to nature and the sun god. This feast was described by many missionaries, but also by travelers such as the astronomer Guillaume Gentil de la Galésière. Regardless of their caste, the workers had only this period of January to celebrate their gods, so they were obliged to join all together, all the same time, in the same place. In 1858, Father Laroche, a Jesuit missionary from the Madurai mission in South India, who were brought from South India to join the Indian Catholic workers in Réunion, wrote to the bishop, and he wrote very interesting things. He asked for a place dedicated only for the Catholic Indian immigrants, and a church on the name of Saint Thomas was built in the city of Saint-Denis. The missionary, the Father Laroche, said also that his mission encountered great difficulties due to the pagan cult. He explained that Indians make animal sacrifice, walk on fire, and that the most important worship was Islamic, which is the devotion to Nagira Mira Sahib, Lord of all times. He said that all the Indian camps have an oratory to pray to this saint. The popularity of this Muslim saint is confirmed by another ingenious Maya who said in 1862 that every evening the Indian would offer fruit and coconut at the foot of Nagura Mira Sahib mast. According to an Indian researcher, Vasudeva Narayanan, Nagura Mira Sahib, or Shahul Hamid, it's his other name, a descendant of a Sufi saint, would receive a divine grace when he was a child. He reached the city of Nagore and was received with great honor by Ekutapa Nayaka, the Hindu ruler of Tanjore. Another Hindu ruler, Raja Pratap Singh, in the middle of the 18th century, paid for the 5th minaret after he was blessed by this saint. Later, lots of Hindus continued to offer worship to the saint when visiting the Nagore shrine. This element allows us to understand better that the indentured laborers were only reproducing what they used to do in India. Their ceremony have always attracted the rest of the population. Another interesting festival was the Muharram or Yamse festival, which was present in the Réunion from the 18th century, brought by the Malabar workers and Lascar sailors, as in Mauritius Island. As in all the sugar colonies, in many islands where Indian indentured workers were sent, they would commemorate the martyr of Hussein, who was murdered in the Great Battle of Karbala. My research shows that this commemoration was celebrated in many parts of India during the colonial periods, both by Hindu and Muslim. in the north of India, but also in the south region as cities as Madras, Pondicherry, and Cochin. In Réunion, some workers would disguise themselves as tigers and simulated the guardians of Hussein's mausoleum. This scene has been represented by the famous French draughtsman Antoine Roussin in 1880 in a very famous lithography in Réunion Island entitled Yamse, the Indian Worker Feast. With the time, the share ritual as Nagura Mira Sahib, Yamse disappeared, but we can say that under this colonial period, the indentured were able to share their culture far from a dogmatical point of view. Some practice survives under other forms. Regarding all this information, the Yamse was the most spectacular and visible ritual, but it was integrated in all the Pongal festival as the workers had only these few days to celebrate. It took place at the same time than the other spectacular ritual performance, the walk on fire, in homage to a female figure of the Mahabharata. Indian workers used to pray guardians, deities of their village, heroes such as Madurai Viren, Karupuswami, goddess protecting disease as Mariamman, and the northern cult survived such as the cock sacrifice at Durga and her seven sisters. Piglets were also sacrificed by the Calcutta minority in homage to the deity Parmeshvari. Many other rituals were practiced by the Girmitia, but they were done inside the community or in the domestic place. Most of the time, the owner of the sugarcane plantation gave them a place, and the ritual gave the rite of the plantation. During the 80-70 years, the pagoda in wall were built in the main city. 10 years before the end of immigration in 1882. In the beginning of the 20th century, the cane cutting started with a goat sacrifice offered by the owner of the sugarcane factory. And during the Pongal, the sugarcane plant was offered to the owner of the plantation. In conclusion, I would say that the Girmitia of Réunion Island were able to recreate their world in reinventing shared practice despite great difficulties. In another hand, the immigrants of 19th century, and it's very important to understand that these immigrants were tolerant human beings and their experiences weren't invented in the sugarcane island, but upstream in their motherland, India. So we have to be inspired by their example. I thank you very much for your attention, and I wish everybody a nice celebration in homage to the first Girmitia of Fiji. Namaste.